Getting triggered is an unpleasant experience for us internally and for people externally. And then comes the repair work, apologizing, and the shame, blame, and guilt. It's just natural to feel bad about that. Welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. This is a place where I share what I've learned and the journey that I've been on and what I've put together for healing and inner work. If you like this channel, please like and subscribe. Your support helps tremendously. And once or twice a month, somebody joins. And so we are getting closer and closer to 1,000, which is pretty cool. Getting triggered. I know this very well because as a kid, I was raised in a highly volatile home. And that was put into my character reel of being volatile. Let's go into this a little bit. What happens is a parent will blow up big time to get their kid to stop acting in a certain manner. And the kid will stop their behavior. But now the child is learning to get this other behavior to stop in another human. A human does this. So it's like this 3-dimensional program that goes in there to get played later. Now the kid has these tendency made to scream, to yell, to throw a fit, and then the parent gets madder and gets them to stop, So it's like each one is raising what they're doing. So now that little child has the ability to get triggered. And I believe the reason why is that the parent has repressed it so much because the parent doesn't want that behavior in the kid. But they don't realize they have to display the behavior they want to program into this little human. So that's one way of getting triggered. There's other ways where a trauma happens. And anything that reminds you of that, you go into full freak out mode, scared, panicking, screaming. And I've seen this in people. And they literally are unreachable because there's this whole nother version of them that's just locked in right there. And it takes a while to bring them back into the version that they are at, bring them into the now and the present moment. And that's totally natural because I've been there. When I was about 3 or 4 years old, I was sexually assaulted. And I remember a while later, we went to the doctor's office and they were going to go give me a shot in one of the buttocks. And I started fighting and screaming because they went to pull my pants down. And I kicked, and they had to bring nurses and doctors in there to hold me down. I don't know if there were other doctors, but people were holding me down to give me this shot. But I was triggered completely. But those adults didn't think, why is this kid going into full fight mode? It's because I had something tragic and horrible happen to me, and I was triggered. So then you can have other triggers like from the war. Let's say a certain smell in the air, and then an ambush happens, or an IED goes off, or you get in a firefight, and there's this lingering trash burning smell somewhere in civilian world, and you smell it and you get triggered. Or you can see something or hear something. The way to get triggered is so immense. It's ridiculous. Even clothes can trigger a person. Look at this. You put on new clothes and all of a sudden you're just this happy. Oh, I'm feeling good. And you got a strut about you. But that wears off. So just all of this external stuff can trigger our internal world. And some things are even deeper triggers. So a little more about my journey with being triggered is my father and mother knew how to trigger me. So did my brothers. And they would do this. And my father would do this in very subtle ways as he grew older. And it was just really a mean thing to do, honestly. But I think it gives people the feeling of control or power And abusers will do that. So then they can point at you after you're triggered and be like, see, they just can't get their act together. Ultimately, though, you have to look at it this way. If you resonate with anything I've just described, and it can be something as simple as going into public and just shrinking inside and just freaking out internally, just going to a store. But first, let me validate your emotions. It's okay to feel that way. It's not a bad thing whatsoever. It's just what's happening internally. So back to, we must realize and take responsibility for our human body and the way it's currently programmed. That's not saying it's our fault for any of the bad things that's happened to us in our past. That's not your fault. It's not. Humans suck. At least in my experience, a lot of them do. That's because humans are monkey see, monkey do. And we're coming out of an era where trauma was used to control humans. And people are waking up, doing the healing, and realizing there's a different way to be a human other than traumatizing other humans to get them to do what you want. So they were just super broken. And when you give yourself grace, you're able to give those people grace. You don't have to forgive them or be around them at all. But realize at one point in time, they were a sweet, kind little human also that just was full of joy. And they got broken. But we are where we're at. We have these sides of us that can be pulled out through these energetic tethers that we see externally. And that's going in and accessing a memory. Pulls that memory up, and then it can present on how we control ourselves and how our body operates internally. How do you override this? There's this split-second moment when you're highly, highly reactive that you have. Literally milliseconds. But the more you think about that moment beforehand and after, and really, really analyze, how do I extend that moment? How do I get that gap to be longer from stimulus to reactivity? It's basically kind of like trying to slow down time and get in between that moment. What I came up with was the character trigger. And the reason I know about this work is because I also did work on my rage cycle about a decade ago. And I went in there and wrote everything down over and over and over. I wrote down what happened. I wrote down how I would go into a rage. And I started just looking at it kind of as a story a little bit, but it was all in external work. It wasn't internal work. And it helped spread out that moment of catching and redirecting the energy in the mind to not pull up those old behaviors. And it takes work. And so when I delved into the rage cycle and did all the external work, and you might have done this also, the triggers were still there. I was still triggerable, but it just took somebody longer to trigger me. They just had to figure out, ooh, he's more resilient now, but we need to try different tactics to trigger him. So let's just pick at different areas to find the chink in the armor. And there was still chinks in the armor. And when I say chinks in the armor, that's your character reel. Are you just one solid character? Or can your reel basically turn and let's flip to this other side? And that's what some people are trying to do, or happens naturally with triggers. So I want to share with you what I did with my triggers and how I implemented my own program to totally override them. And not just override them, but get to the point where there are no energetic tethers to them. Could there be? Under duress in the certain circumstances? Yes, I believe so, because those markers are still in the brain. But is it something that is highly useful? Yes. So this is called the character trigger. It's several different pieces. It's tapping in one specific spot. It's not like tapping all over and be like, oh, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. It's like you pick one spot and you tap. Breath work, visualization, creating a symbol, creating a character sheet, and then tying all these together, and you create a new marker in the brain. And in the next video, I'm going to go over how to create that and how to start programming it in, and how it's so valuable in overriding triggers. Roadhouse, Spiritual Hard.